Hi, I'm Gary from RevNyou Real Estate Education and Rental House Profits. And this week on our Ask the Expert series, we'll be interviewing Kelly and Ian from Elevated Wealth Creations. And we're going to talk about how you can accidentally create $80,000 and how a punch in the face can help you win perhaps a little competition that we have going on with real estate. And here's the episode without further ado.
Hi, I'm Gary from RevNyou Real Estate Education and Rental House Profits. So today we've got Ian Hocking and Kelly Caldwell. I met Kelly in Toronto. We literally spoke for probably 10 minutes.
Really?
We had in between the breaks we were at a real estate conference, and I just thought she had such a great story. She told me about Ian, what they were up to. I've connected them to someone that I coach. Hopefully something's going to come of that. We're still speaking with him about that. And I just wanted to get them on here, have a bit of a chat. So first of all, rather than me introduce you guys, because I don't go and research people before stuff. I like it to be organic about getting to know people. Ian, we spoke for probably 5 minutes this morning. I just found out he was a fellow Englishman today. So first of all, start with you guys. Tell me a bit about yourself and just a quick intro about you, not your real estate. So who are you?
Go ahead, Ian. You go first.
Well, I thought it was great. So you haven't researched us, so we could say whatever we like, really.
You can say anything you want, but remember that people might research you to watch it.
Like some crazy people, Probably. Oh my gosh. I'm British, so that kind of comes across, and that's fine. Spent 20 years or so in financial services in London. Actually got a really good opportunity to travel the world. So I've been to some very interesting places throughout the world, which is great fun. Came to Canada in 2003 and really just didn't really know what I was going to do when I got here. Just came over because the Canadian government let me in. So that was fine. Thanks, guys.
One of the few that let us in, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, it didn't exactly just let me in, but I mean, I kind of persuaded them to let me in, and they did. Yeah. And so once you're in, no going back. I bought a one-way ticket because I just believe that if you're going to do something, you burn the bridge and you go do it.
Yeah.
And kind of got my real estate license after being here for a couple of years. Been doing a lot of
You're a licensed realtor then?
I'm a licensed realtor, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so yeah, really just been investing for years and years and years. But who am I? I don't know. I'm in my 50s. I still think I'm 25. And I still work like I'm 25, which I think annoys everybody. But that's who I am. And I met this lovely lady a couple of years ago. And since then, she's been dragging me all around all the kind of rotten basements that you could possibly find. And we've been having a blast. So I'm enjoying it. It's great.
Awesome. So I'm just going to ask you two questions about that. What was the most interesting country that you visited abroad?
Oh, gosh. I spent quite a bit of time in Russia. So.
Okay.
And that was in the late 90s, so it wasn't nearly as westernized as it is now. So that was.
I got to go to Georgia just after I had come out of Russia, and that was in the late 90s as well. We were I was in the Royal Navy for years, so I got to some interesting places. That's why I was curious to see where you'd been and you found it interesting. So I can relate to that. Yeah, electricity going out at 10 at night and running the generators to sit in the pub, and yeah, cool. Yep. Okay, that's awesome. We'll talk more about that after. Okay, Kelly, who are you?
Okay. My name is Kelly. I am originally from Windsor, Ontario. So nothing as interesting as what Ian has. I haven't lived in any other countries or anything like that. But
you have a cool accent compared to us.
Compared to you, I guess I am the one with the accent here. I'm the minority.
Yeah. So we can't understand her for once.
Yeah. First 26, 27 years of my life, I was in Windsor, Ontario. Had a strong background in competitive gymnastics, of all things. So I think a lot of my mindset for sure has come from competitive sport and gymnastics, and just that constant grind. And then when I was about 26 years old, I moved to Toronto, where I actually went to school to become a funeral director, of all things.
You never going to go out of business.
Right. And so did my schooling in Toronto, did my internship in Niagara Falls, met my husband. We settled in the Hamilton area, and that's where we kind of started the majority of our investing. So we flipped a couple of houses, and we joined a community called Keyspire, where we learned about long-term buy and hold. So we did a couple of purchases through Keyspire, and we still hold those properties. And then when we completed our last flip in Hamilton, we were just at a point where our youngest was about to enter into school. And it was one of my husband's long-term goals to be able to move out to Georgian Bay area and to purchase the boat of his dreams and live in this area and close to Blue Mountain, all of this stuff. And so when we flipped our last house, we were able to take the profits from that, and we were able to make the transition nicely. And our son started school here. And then I ran into Ian and dragged him through every disgusting.
Almost literally ran into me. Actually, technically, I think I almost ran into you in the car. Yeah.
So, okay. So is that how you guys connected through you being the realtor? Then was why you came. You were just like, hey, can we look at this? Okay, awesome. We're going to get more into that. Okay.
Yeah. So started dragging Ian through as many dirty, dingy properties across Simcoe County as I could possibly find. And he, I guess, figured if he couldn't beat me, he would join me. And so now here we are in Simcoe County.
That's awesome. So what made you get into real estate? Well, what was it? What do you think was the catalyst that made you suddenly? I know you mentioned that you joined Keyspire. And for those listening around the world, there's a guy off TV. He started this organization. He does the free night, then you pay for the weekend, then you pay to join, and you get access. So it's like the whole process that I'm sure most people are aware with around the world here. So what was the trigger that made you think, you know what? I think I want to get into houses.
Yeah, so there is a multitude of things. So first of all, my husband is extremely, extremely handy. So our first flip was purely an accident. We couldn't afford to buy anything that was done. So we bought a house that was an estate sale. And we got it at a low-ish price for the time. And we just worked away at it. And we really had
What was that price?
So that price it's a small town just west of Hamilton. It's called Dundas.
Okay.
So we purchased that property for $250,000.
Okay.
And so we just kind of worked away at it. We really had no intentions of moving. We kind of figured that was our forever home. And it had an unfinished basement, which we created two bedrooms for my stepkids. And I kind of fell in love with interior design at that point. We just had a blast doing it. And
how old were you then?
How old was I then? I
know you should never ask women our age, so I'll ask what it was then, not now.
I'm trying to think, 27, 28, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yep. And so did that, and then we had our youngest son, and when he was about 9 months old, we were approached privately by a gentleman who basically said, I'd like to buy your house. And so I, kind of just said, oh.
And how much did he offer?
Well, he asked us what we wanted, so we did our comparables, and we actually got $360 some odd thousand for it. We owned the property for less than a year.
Nice, 110,000 profit. And what did you spend on the rentals? Doing it yourself, not including labor.
Yeah.
Right?
So we did all the work ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think like materials was probably $20,000 ish.
Nice. So and somewhere in the region of $80,000 to $90,000 for your sweat equity.
Yeah, and so I think at that point we kind of realized, we had some talent there, and we could put our talents to work to make us some money.
And you enjoyed it, right? Because I heard, even when you said, I actually you smiled when you said it, like your face changed. So you can see it wasn't it. So you just made $80,000, $90,000 doing something you enjoy.
Right.
It's not even work, right?
Yeah, it was never a job for us. We had a blast doing it. We, had no problems getting on ladders and painting and having music and occasional beer here and there. And we just really enjoyed doing that together.
Just not while you're trying to cut in.
Yeah, and then we made some money while we were doing it. So it was like, well, this is a great thing to do. And so at that point, I had never really thought about, we had just paid off our student loans. We had just, kind of gotten to that point where we could start, being quote unquote adults. And it was like, oh, but now we can do long-term buy and hold as an avenue of investment. So that just opened up a whole new world for us. And so while I still enjoy the renovation aspect, I do see the value in buy and hold as well as flip.
Yeah. So I like that. I love those accidental stories where it's just like, oh yeah, just accidentally made $80,000. I enjoy doing it. Like, yeah, that's awesome. And it's because I think a lot of people, and certainly when I'm coaching now, a lot of people, as you had the success, a lot of people also have the failures because they didn't do it by design. And I think now, it's more, if you go into it with an intent and you're enjoying still what you're doing, as you now know, right? Because you've now created a business from that accident that happened. You're like, oh, I can turn this into a business. Yeah. But quite easily, without someone coming on board and working with people like yourselves or something like that, they could also make the mistake of that, right? And be cost $80,000 by not pricing into the labor. And all of a sudden they've got a sour taste and they didn't enjoy it. And
sure.
Okay, so I just want to, make that clear. It's that I love the accidents that work out, but there's also accidents that don't. And that's where people like yourselves are experts in what you're doing. Other people, and why we're sharing this, so people can learn what to do the right way, so they do it by design, learning from your accident to create future abundance using real estate, right?
Yeah, and I think that's important too. Like, we've had a lot of, even between Ian and I, what we would consider failures or hiccups or bumps in the road.
Oops
moments. But I think the big thing in that is, failing forward, right?
And I'm going to stop you because I've got some questions about your fails coming up. So we're going to get to them. So Ian, what made you get into real estate? So you were this like Rico Suave investment banker in London, champagne, parties with his stars, all this kind of stuff, right?
When we were first chatting, that I was born on the East End of London, which is Windsor.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like the Windsor of London is sort of where I was born and where I grew up. So there's nothing suave about me. But having said that, so how did I get into real estate? Well, I held my hand in the air too long. So in London and actually in the UK, auction block selling is fairly common. And I just kind of thought, oh, what the heck, I've got a little bit of money, I'll go see what I can pick up. So I went down to a couple of auction houses in London, and they were selling off some, what we would call a power of sale or a foreclosure. And I sort of waved my hand in the air, and there was about 200 people in the room, and I was sitting towards the front of the room, and I just forgot the fact that nobody else behind me had their hand up. So that the guy at the front of the room went, sold, and I kind of looked around and went, shit, I just bought a house. So I bought 2 houses in one go.
Nice.
And they were in the Midlands, so you would know Stoke. So they were in a mining town called Stoke, and they really weren't that good. They were really kind of bad, actually.
Were they the old type of miners' houses?
Yeah, that's it, like row housing, whatever, like a terrace. But think of Coronation Street and then go down a few notches. That's sort of.
I think most people would know what Coronation Street, and I think people just these big rows of townhomes that we see getting built in developments now. I think, just for clarity, so people know, they used to build these huge estates that were like I don't even use the term county estate. They're huge estates for the miners to move to an area and work. And there's just rows and rows of brick houses. And I remember going to England, and my other half, she was going in, believe Newcastle, where my mum's from. It's a mining, same kind of houses. That's what I was picturing it. And I was showing her on Google Maps, and I'm going, there's my mum's house right there. And there's the living room window. And she went, well, what's that door? I went, that's the neighbours. She went, well, what's that door on the other side of the door? I went, that's the other neighbours. She's like, oh my God. And it's just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rows of these brick houses. And those older houses, a lot of them, when they were built, had outhouses, but they didn't even have a toilet inside, so they've been converted over the years and had the coal shed and stuff like that. So
that's what this was.
You got 2 of them, awesome.
It wasn't actually outside, but it would have been, and then somebody had the bright idea of filling in the gap between the house and the outhouse, and they're part of the house. So little chilly.
People don't get this in North America. They have no idea. And these houses are probably close to 100 years old, and original roof, original plaster, original walls, like this stuff, it was built solid.
Wow.
Like I remember moving in our house at 13, 14 in our mum's, and it was like, we didn't even have heating. We had one little blow heater, and I used to sit under the towel after the bath as like a 12, 13-year-old just to get the warm air, because these houses had no heating, single pane windows. The toilet had just got moved inside, so you got to the outhouse. Otherwise, the people before us, and we're talking 1989. This isn't like way back when. 1989, people were still going outside and using these toilets. So you bought 2 of them. Awesome. So you bought 2 of them at an auction, accidentally. One of those, okay.
Yeah, that's it. So that's how I got into real estate. I bought 2 of them, and I bought them.
How much did they cost?
They were a grand sum. Wait for it, £20,000, which
Each
is
or total?
each.
Okay.
$1,000 Canadian
Okay.
each. And I bought them in 1997. And I think about 2 months after I bought them, the phone rang, and it was a police officer saying, "Do you know, by the way, that the back of your house is like, there's a tenant in there, they've all run out, and the house is trashed, and there's a fight, and there's drugs, and there's all sorts of things going on." And so, I didn't live that close. So that was my introduction to being a property manager. That was the beginning. But nevertheless, I mean, I did manage to turn them around. We did some fix up on them, and we got a good local property manager to find some tenants who then kind of managed the properties for me. And we doubled our money and sold them in 2001.
2000. I was going to say, because the late 90s was a good time to buy. I bought my first property in the UK in 99. So I was aware of the market around 98, 99 and watching what was going on. And everyone at the time, I remember friends saying, hold on to don't buy yet. The market's going to crash. The world's going to end. I'm going to buy a house then. And I was like, no, I'm buying one right now. And it hasn't stopped. Like, it never crashed. It just...
If you can think, I mean, like my son was born in 97 and my daughter was born in 98. So I'm not sure my wife was too impressed when I said I held my hand in the air for too long. But in 2001, I think she let me off because we did double the money. So that was the beginning.
So 97 to 2001.
Yep.
So 4 years, doubled your money. So 25% return on investment.
Yep.
No, and that's not including principal paid on. That's purely just appreciation. So
yearly appreciation.
Yeah. I mean, no one's going to get that even just sitting in an account, in a bank account. Like, it's just not possible. That was certainly for me. That was an eye opener. Around the same time, so I was UK as well, and I bought a house, sold it a couple of years later. I moved down to the south of England, and in that whole rigmarole going on, it was the hindsight looking back. But I was like, wow, that just did that, and the math, and you don't realize going forward sometimes, and even now I still find it, and you might attest to this as well. You don't realize where you are because sometimes you feel like that duck where everyone looks at you, seeing you, cruising along, Ian and Kelly, the cool cats, killing it in the real estate world. But they don't see what goes on. They don't see you paddling like crazy. But if you could go back 4 years and look backwards and go, wow, that was so easy then. Knowing what I know now today and going back, that's where experience steps in, like all these stories and all these, which we're going to dig into some of your successes and failures. It's created this experience that's, I believe, help make you successful. So, and this is the next question I want to ask you then. Why are you more successful than most? And what is it that drives you?
That was to you. He said to you,
To
Ian.
me.
To you, Ian.
Okay, to me.
I'll start with you, Ian.
So, okay, so what drives me, what makes me...
And I don't want that to come from an egotistical. I just know that in the percentage of people doing real estate, there's a smaller percentage that are actually like killing it, which, when I see you guys speak to you are killing it. Like, you're actually doing it actively. These are successful.
But I think between us, we've managed or bought and sold over 30, I think like 30, we added up, it was like 35 or 36 properties since probably like 1997, if you like. So I think
investment properties that you have personally done, not just bought and sold. Right?
No, investment properties.
I was going to say, that's not a very good realtor if that's all you've done.
No. Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah, averaging like 1.5 sales a year. Woo!
I'll be fist pumping on that one. Not.
You get the rematch wooden spoon every year.
Yeah, that's the one. So what drives me? To be honest with you, I've just been a driven person. I like to win, and I'm just I don't find it work, right? I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, when I'm in real estate, I just love what I'm doing. I mean, I just like to take older houses and make them better and create wealth. And if I can create, I was creating wealth through real estate for my clients. And of course, I was an investor before I was a realtor, and that naturally transferred in, I think, so with the financial background, I see numbers, and then I think I'm pretty good at analyzing properties on the hop, and taking that knowledge and doing it myself, and then having clients through real estate who wanted to create some wealth as well. If I could help somebody else make some money, I mean, I get a lot of kick out of that. It's a personal thing, I think. I mean, I make money for myself, Kelly and I make money for ourselves, which is great. But I also help a lot of other people make money, either just through advice or by actually standing in the trenches with them. I've helped a lot of people create second suites, not with Kelly and I, but just before we existed. Clients come along and they'd say, like, how do I put a suite in here? And I just sit there and I'd guide them through the rules and regulations, take them up to the city and show them what was what. And actually stand there with the contractors, get quotes for them and help them out through that process. So that was kind of, I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of doing that. So there's a satisfaction thing. There's the drive that I like to make money. And to be honest with you, I've got some big dreams and some goals, and I'm not going to get there by earning $100,000 a year. That just isn't going to do it. Yeah. So, you know, there's bigger things I want to get done.
On that exact thing there, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the investment banking world itself is that it's a driven world, right? It's not so when you mentioned that you've done that, I could say, okay, I can see where there's some drive in there. But when you mentioned something about goals and how you use in real estate, you know, the $100,000 a year job, which is a well-paid job in most places in the world, right? But if your dreams are bigger than that, a lot of people alter their dreams rather than alter the plan they're using to get there. And that's what I tell people. Never change your dreams. If the plan you're working isn't getting you to your dreams, then change the plan, not your dreams. In real estate, as much as I enjoy doing it, if it didn't help me provide for my dreams, I probably wouldn't do it as much, in all honesty. I would find something else that's helping me get towards my dreams and goals. And real estate, if done correctly, and we'll get into how you guys do it, it's one of those biggest wealth creators that I've observed personally. Unless someone's like, I mean, you're in the investment world, so unless people are, you know, absolutely annihilated in that highly driven world and highly stressful world, you know, I can't think of any other thing that is so passively where you can have fun, have a few beers with your other half and still pocket $80,000, like just in your fun spare time. There's nothing like that. So what you said about goals and using real estate, we're going to cycle back into that. So I just want to highlight that for a second. So Kelly, what drives you?
Me.
No.
Like with your little chauffeur hat on. I spoke to you. I could tell you were a driven woman because we met, like, you know, as we were outside, and I was like, and I'm like, okay, I need to. That's why I connected.
She drives me around the bend. Yeah, she's driven.
So I think my drive comes from a multitude of places. My background is very different than Ian's. We have two totally different backgrounds. You know, I grew up in a family that had.
Ian wasn't a competitive gymnast, really?
No, absolutely.
I wasn't a gymnast. I just wasn't as competitive as she was. She was.
I grew up in a family that had absolutely no money. Single parent family. I mean, there were weeks that went by that we didn't have any hot water or electricity. I've stood in the line at food banks and for turkeys and, you know, accepted donations for Christmas and that type of thing. So that's, you know, one thing that drives me is that I don't want that for my kids. And I never want to go back to a place where I'm in that situation again. So, I mean, I'm not going to now, but I remember that very clearly. What else drives me? You know, that's and then I think a lot of it too is the fact, so I did end up, like I said earlier, I was, you know, became a funeral director. So in that role, you know, I've had the privilege of sitting with a lot of bereaved families and just hearing the stories of, you know, their loved one passing. And, you know, unfortunately, it's not always, you know, somebody's 100-year-old grandma who passes away from too many birthdays. It's really, really simple things like, somebody might have passed away when they were 30 years old because they choked on a piece of food, or they might have been out for a bike ride and got hit by a car. Like, it's very simple things that you don't expect coming. And so you just have such a great appreciation for life. And what I'm trying to get out of my investments is life. I'm trying to maximize the time that I have because I don't know how much time that's going to be. And I'm trying to create memories for my family and the people around me.
That's pretty beautiful. Like, that is one of the, I need to take a moment for that. It was, because as you're saying that, it was a driver for me. And my dad passed away when I was 21, and he was 50, so like 52, so it wasn't expected. And that was a driver for me. And that was probably, you know, the start of my real estate-ish, because I kind of inherited some money to buy a house. But it was at that point where I realized that, you know what, life is short and you don't know what it can do. And this, I use this to create a lifestyle. Like I've got my house on the lake that was a life dream. I have my toys, I live my life, and I'm still not perhaps doing everything I want to do. You know, I'm not as involved in everything, but that comes down to time at the minute. So I spoke with Ian briefly earlier. Time is now my drive, but it's because that life, you don't know how long you've got. So that is a major drive. And I think people listening or watching this should realize that if you do real estate by design successfully, it can create not only just money, but it can also free up time. Yes, there's going to be times, like anything, where it's everything happens at once. But then there's also a lot of time where you can actually choose what you want to do. Me personally, my daughter's a singer, and we got to go down to LA the other week, and she was on a TV show, and I could take a week off. Like I could literally just get up and go take a week off with no questions asked. And moments like that how many times do people miss birthdays, their kids' plays, just because then they're doing the 100,000-year job and they cannot leave. So I think real estate can create those kind of opportunities as well. Yes, you're still going to put in, you know, the usual 120 hours a week that we do, but you get to choose which 120. So I think that was a beautiful one. I'm glad you actually brought that up. So if you could give up real estate and had to do something else, what would you do to earn the money for your 100 grand a year job? So this is like, you're not going to pay the bills, you just got to go do a job. What would that job be? And you're not allowed to go back to your old ones.
Okay, so if I wasn't doing real estate, honestly, it would probably be interior design, but does that still count as real estate?
Okay. No, I'll give you that. So design. Okay, so design. So are you a very creative mindset anyway?
Yeah, so I actually graduated from a performing arts school, so.
But is that who you are? Like you're a creative person anyway? Okay, so when you see real estate, and this is one of the things that I like to explain to people, as you have it, is if you've got a creative mindset, you can solve problems. And if you can solve problems, you can create solutions. If you create solutions, you're going to have success. So yes. I think that's, so what would you do, Ian?
Well, so she really is a squirrel, by the way. You know, so that creative mind, she sees stuff. I'm like, where'd she go? So
that's like me. I'm like
furniture stories, just one of those things. It's like, I don't know, she's disappeared again. So my actual background, believe it or not, is art. My degree is art and design and graphic design. So would I go back to being an artist? Well, the reason I got out of being an artist was, quite frankly, the only way you make any money is to die, and I didn't like those odds. So I thought, no.
Well, those odds are pretty certain. Like that's going to happen.
Eventually, but the problem is you're not going to benefit much from it.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that, but I enjoy art. So if I did something in the artistic background, I probably would go there. The other thing, actually, to be honest with it, I've really become very much more interested in. My son is an airline pilot.
Okay.
And he's kind of got me the bug of flying. If you really said to me you had to change career, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like that lifestyle a bit. You know, they fly for 4 or 5 days, which is pretty intense. Then they get 4 or 5 days off.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe I'd go look at being an airline pilot.
Being a pilot? Okay.
I take up art in my spare time.
Nice. Okay. That's pretty like, so a creative mindset and then a pilot. Awesome. Okay. I just wanted to wonder where people would go with that, you know, because sometimes I've asked that to people and they're like, oh, I have no clue. Like I'm kind of like Kelly. I'm a creative mindset, so I'll squirrel all the time. Like I'm on the phone to someone, the time it takes to ring, I've seen something else. They've answered, I forgot what I'm calling them for, and I'm like, you know what? When I remember, I'll call you back. Okay. So I get that totally.
I was about to say, the last thing you want is a creative pilot. So that's really not good.
Oh yeah.
We actually are in the process. We are having T-shirts made for the next investment summit that we're going to. And the back of my shirt says, if found, return to the British guy. And his says, I'm the British guy. Because
that is awesome. I love it. Yeah. I love it. My other half, she always says, I'm the wow and she's the how. So I have all these great ideas. I'm, oh yeah. She's like, well, okay, I was just going to get done. Come on. So onto real estate now. So what is your most successful deal to date and why? And throw some numbers out there so people can get a picture of that.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
How do you measure success as well? I mean, I guess monetary value.
Yeah, are you just talking about?
It doesn't have to be monetary. Just what do you think is your most successful deal and why?
Okay, so this has nothing to do with monetary value,
Okay.
numbers or cents or anything like that. What it has to do with, I would say my most successful deal would be my first joint venture.
Okay.
And the reason that that I would classify that as my most successful is because it taught me my value more than any other project that I've ever done. And so, you know, for this particular joint venture project, what I did was I wanted to break into the joint venture market so bad, and I didn't recognize my value as a working partner. So what I did was I offered my financial partner a ridiculous split that I don't think anybody would ever.
Which was what?
It was 30-70.
Okay.
That was my split. And the amount of work and time and energy that I had to put into it was, you know, just astronomical. And by the time it was all said and done, not to say that I didn't get anything out of it, and I value that partner, and she, you know, she's still very much an active partner with us and is fantastic, and I'm very grateful for her. Having said that, it forced me to see my value, and that as a working partner, the number of balls that you have in the air at any given time, what you're balancing from the contractors to the accounts, to the ordering, to the permits, to the inspections, keeping on budget, the whole thing.
Was this a flip house?
No.
Okay, so buy and hold. Okay.
Buy and hold. And then moving into it as a property manager, going through the process of tenanting the property, taking care of property maintenance.
Did you get paid separate for the property management on this first one? At the time, no. So, okay, good.
No.
I'm just making little notes so we can go over this.
No. And so, yeah, it really forced me to see my own value. And so I think the success in that was me seeing what it is that I'm really worth as a working partner, and just acknowledging that I do have the knowledge to do this, and just use that moving forward.
So I love that. 70/30. Do you still own this house?
I do.
Okay, awesome. Are you still doing property management for free?
I am.
Only on that one. And only for the next month or two.
Right. But you know what? I'm a person of my word, and that was what was in our contract, and so I am going to hold firm to that, and that's what it is. And so
my first joint venture was sitting in front of a room of people. So exactly what you said, understanding your value, and people that are listening, watching, and are taking that step into joint venture world. I don't see anything wrong in doing what you did, by the way, because the lessons that you learn from that are invaluable. And now you still own an asset at 30%. I mean, if that goes for 20 years, that's a big chunk of change. You basically got free education and you want to make a profit from it.
Right, yeah, sure.
But I said, I've read this book, this is what I'm going to do. If you partner in, I will take no money, manage everything, and only take 10% of the profit only.
Oh, wow.
And we still own the house to this day, and I'm still waiting for it to sell. It was meant to be a rental, so it should have cashed out, and then that converted into a long-term hold. So now I'm just sitting there waiting for the next 20 years to get paid. But I didn't deal with a lot of the contractors, because the initial guy that was going to do the rental was a contractor, so he did a lot of the rentals himself. So I literally just managed it, and it manages itself at the time. So I was lucky. But what I learned, same thing, value. And I think people have to understand that knowledge is value. And people, and correct me if I'm wrong, we sometimes get desperate just to get that partner because it's the next step. And if you've got to do 70/30 or 10%, I would always say do it, but understand why you're doing it. It's just to get to a step so you can learn from it to move on to create more. What do you do now in your joint venture splits?
50.
Yeah, 50/50.
50/50, and then you charge for the management, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Because you now understand what you're creating for other people as well. And I think that's a hard thing for people to explain when they don't understand why they are in a joint venture partner. They need someone to come in and actually explain. Because even going to educate yourself, like it costs $1,000 to go on a weekend course. It costs, you know, $5,000 to $30,000 to be a membership of some of these organizations. It costs like all this, not to mention the time of the podcast you listen to, the videos, the books you read, all that education. If you're going to go to university and put in the same amount of hours that you, I have no doubt that you guys have put into your real estate education, you'll be at least a doctor by now, just from the hours that you put in. And I think understanding when, he's doing the math now, you're thinking, so here's all the podcasts are like, I mean, I very rarely listen to music. I'm usually listening to someone else's podcast or books about stuff, about business. I'm always improving on that. Now, those same partners, I must admit, they're still my partners to this day. I'm on other joint ventures with them. Same thing, it's either 50-50 or 60-40, depending on how we set up the structure of who's managing what. But yeah, creating the value and understanding your own value is a powerful tool. And I think being around, if someone was to come to you guys now and say, hey, I'm getting into the joint venture market, that would be where you could help show them what their value is. And then they can present that value to someone else. Because people don't know. People just say, well, I'm putting the money in, why should you get a return? And they don't realize, whereas I now ask people what return they want, that they would class as good. If it's a new person that knows nothing about real estate, I'll say, if you were to get a return from real estate and make a return, what would be good? And what would you be like, wow, this is awesome? And most of the time, they're saying 10 to 15%. Right. And I'm like, perfect. So if I can promise you 18, and if I deliver less than that, I'll take it out of my share to make sure you get your 18. Will you be happy? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And then we'll write up the 6, and they don't even argue over the 60-40 or the 50-50. They just know that they're going to get that target. And then you finally yell it and go, oh, here's 35-40, whatever that percentage is. And they're like, but you said 18. So yeah, no, I didn't want to pay you any money. Under promise and over deliver, right? Ian, what's yours? What was your most successful deal and why?
So I think I've actually kind of got two. One's personal, was a personal home that we flipped. It was back in the UK. And we pretty much gutted that one. And, there I was underneath the floorboards, wiring the house and doing all sorts of bits and pieces. And that was just a personal satisfaction of actually having put it together. And we made a lot of money on that, doing that. But if you want to look at an investment property, I got off the boat literally in 2003. And the first thing I did was walk around, and I bought a 6-unit building in Barry, which we still own today. And when I purchased it, there was lots of things wrong with it. Drugs, rock and roll, prostitution, you name it, I got the lot. And that was a very hands-on project. And I would say, same thing as Geddy said, it taught me a lesson, and I got an education. I learned about property management in Canada as opposed to property management in the UK. I learned how to evict people real fast. I also learned how to deal with drug dealers and a few pimps and a few other bits and pieces. It was really quite the nice building. So that was, we managed to renovate those 6 units. I managed to orchestrate the renovation of that entire building over the course of about 12 months by literally moving tenants around the building and then evicting a few. So I had 1 unit empty throughout that, just actually about 14 months. And we managed to just literally fill the building and move people around. So we kept the building performing whilst we renovated the whole thing. And at the end of it, it became a bit of a cash cow, and it still is today. So that was a good personal satisfaction of hands-on. I mean, there I was blowing the snow myself, and I still got a scar actually on my wrist here from having picked up a lawnmower that was boiling hot so I scolded myself, and it's stuff you do, right? So I learned a lot from that one, including what previous sellers say they're going to do and then what they don't do. I wasn't a realtor at that time, otherwise I probably would have nailed the guy. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I got a lot of personal satisfaction out of that, and it's been a great money earner ever since. It took 4 or 5 years to really make it cash flow and do well, but now it's great. Love it.
Nice. That sounds awesome. I love the fact that it's, you just get off and you straight into a 6-plex. No, just buying one of the rental and say, let's get a 6-plex and do that. I have a book that's coming out, and it's called Manage Your Tenants. But then I've got a big line through the tenants, and it's your clients. And I think what you mentioned there, learning how to deal with people, that's a skill set that if you truly want to be successful on the management side, well, even on the investment side, you have to learn to be good with people. So I always recommend people to start looking at certain books that are about negotiating with people, about how to keep you cool, keep you calm. Because escalating and confrontation very rarely ends in a successful way for us. It only ends up costing us or hurting us. So that's why in that it's the mindset, right, of dealing with people. Like I was a military guy, and there's lots of times I've come across confrontations that I could have dealt with in a military way, but I don't. I've got to rein that back and be like, okay, what are we trying to achieve here? This is how it's good. Yes, I know you just trashed my house. I know there's needles everywhere, but you need to do.
Yep. It's people management, not property management.
Yes, it is people management, and that's the same for the I find that for the investment side as well, personally. So that's okay. What was this is going to Kelly first. Just so you have time to think about it.
Okay.
What was your biggest fail, and what did you learn? Your biggest fail.
Specific to real estate or just
real estate specific? Yeah.
What did I learn? So my biggest failure, I would say, was in way underestimating a renovation budget for a flip project that we had happening. And that project was done with a joint venture partner. And so we were, very confident going into this project that we could do this renovation for the set amount that we had said. And it ended up going so far over budget that we couldn't, and it was all legitimate expenses that happened.
Yeah.
And so what we ended up doing was my husband bailed me out. My husband came in and we put his handy skills, to work.
Yeah.
And so, I think one of the things in that with the budget was that, it was producing such a fantastic, ROI on paper that I wasn't really willing to see it in any other light, because if I adjusted that budget, the ROI would not have been so good.
Yeah.
What we ended up doing with that project was physically being in the project, blood, sweat, tears, and I'm very blessed that my husband kept a really positive attitude throughout the whole process. But, just really learning, that what your family's time is worth and what happens when you just, numbers speak for themselves, and just making sure that everything is appropriate. And, in the end, it all worked out. In the end, we sold the property and, on paper, we made a profit if we didn't factor in our time.
Yeah.
So that was all there. But I mean, if we talk about what was lost, we talk about, the weekends and the evenings that my husband was away from our family and, the events that my son might have had going on that he missed, the bedtime stories, the suppers, those were the things that were lost. So you just really learn, the importance of making sure that your numbers are on track and that it has to be appropriate.
And I want to just highlight something you said then, you're a joint venture partner, you're stepping in, you've got the numbers, you presented, the people have put the money up. And when it was going south, you guys are people that are willing to give up your life to make sure that's still successful result on the thing. And I think there's a lot of people aren't. And that's why I think,
I think my main objective in all of that was to make sure that our investor got the return that we had projected for the investor. And so, we did take accountability and responsibility for that. And so did move in and that's how that all unfolded.
And I think that's one of the things that obviously helps make you successful as well, is that you're willing to do that, because a lot of people aren't willing to do that. They'll put the JD together, and then they'll go back, they'll do a cash call, something like that to fix it. And I think if people are willing to stay on track, and anyone wanting to work with you, I think that's good as well, that they can see that, yes, you're going to be skilled, you've learned that lesson, you go on a budget, I'm sure, way better now, and you've got systems and processes to achieve that. But if something does go wrong, because sometimes it can, it's not a perfect world, you are willing to keep yourself accountable to make sure the joint venture partner is getting what they needed from that, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. And Ian, what was your biggest fail?
But I'm just going to add to that as well, because there are things that happen on a budget, and sometimes you just can't. It's just it happens, right?
Yeah.
So Kelly's remarkably good at going around and finding the discounts and the stuff that's on sale to try and eke back wherever you can budget. So it's really those extra evenings where we see a sale come up at Lowe's or whatever it is, and we go buy flooring at a cheaper price than we would have otherwise been able to get it. So it's really trying to make sure that comes back. So she's really good at doing that kind of stuff too.
I'm trying to think, when I was up there, I went to Niagara, and there was like a little discount shop just as you drive into Niagara. Like on the right, it was like a liquidation world. And for some reason I'm like, oh, I'm going to go in there and have a look. But it was all the old Costco stuff.
Yeah.
Like, tons of stuff, like fridges that had like the tiniest scratch, but they're brand new stainless. And I'm like going in, because I live on an island, right? So we don't get no deals. It's like everything costs. And the deals they're in Vancouver, but you got to get it. It's like a whole day's trip by the time you do the ferry ticket. It's not even worth it. Might as well just go to the local store and pay $300 more than everywhere else. And I was like going through the shop, and I was like, no way. I was like, I even said to the guy, I went, do you ship? So like, can I get this? Because I was going to just hire a van and buy half his warehouse. I was like, this is awesome. So I could, like, because the numbers, I'm like, ching, 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 ching. So yeah, if you spend a bit of time and have the ability to go get this stuff in deals, you can, I don't want to say cut corners, but you can cut margins off your budget to help get a better return for sure. So sometimes it's worth people putting in the time or having people on your team that are willing to do that as well and enjoy doing it, because you don't have anything to be into that. Like I know some people, honestly, I can't be bothered to go look half the time. I'm like, I'm just going to Costco and I'm buying a new store. Because for me to go buy one for $400 and traipse around and get my phone people, I can't be bothered. Like my time is just. But there's other people, they enjoy doing that. Like I've got a cleaner. She ain't like, I don't want to clean. Like I hate cleaning. I'll do it if I have to. But I've got a. She loves it. The dirtier the better. She's like, oh, and she's in, and like people find passion in doing what they're good at. And it's So finding those people on your team, as you already have, is great. I need a Kelly on the island here. All the calls. So tell me what you guys do, like your business. I know we've talked a bit about you, but what do you offer? What's your mindset? Think about people like who want to be. If someone was going to come partner, I want to come partner with you guys. Tell me about what you do, what your strategies are, why you do it, what kind of numbers people can look at, what the costs, kind of things. And I know there's some variables, but just give me the rundown of your business. Yes, so promote yourselves right now.
Okay, she's looking at me on that one. I mean, our main strategy that we're employing is the creation of second suites. As you know, around Simcoe County, we know the area very well. We know the ins and outs. We know the streets to buy, the streets not to buy, that kind of thing. And with the advent of the Affordability Act in 2011, there's a province-wide drive to create extra suites within, like intensifying in local communities, as opposed to just building on greenfield sites. So taking that knowledge and the fact that the government's pushing for this, all the local municipalities.
And this is provincial government?
It's provincial. This is Ontario. It's provincial.
Oh, okay.
So they provincially mandated this, which means the local municipalities must, and it says shall in the Act, create a second suite policy.
Right.
And that second suite policy is different in each municipality, but it's guided by the provincial legislation. So, for example, doing a second suite in Barrie is different from doing one in Collingwood to a degree. Not a whole.
So they just have to have a policy. That's just similar on the island here. We've got different towns, and we adopted some suite rules from another town, and they don't even meet the houses. So there's not a single suite permit went out since. I mean, they might have had a few now, but for 4 years, not a single suite permit went out. But I know there was about 60 suites went in town because it didn't match anything. And for myself, all my suites I'd already done previous to these rules, because there used to be no rules. They're now illegal because I don't live upstairs. And I'm like, but I sell it to you and you move in as the homeowner, and now it's legal. And I'm like, well, who brought this rule in? Like, this doesn't help the affordability in the houses. And we have a real crisis here as well, as do a lot of places. But so I think something like that is a great province-wide thing that should be done.
It's a needed thing as well. There's not enough suites, and the affordability of suites is somewhat challenging as well. So the more that are created, the more that
supply and demand.
It's better, right? Supply and demand.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that's our main strategy is the creation of second suites. third suites or fourth suites as well, potentially in multi-family zones. So that's our main sort of strategy. If are you looking for specific numbers? I mean, it depends on the town, which town we go into.
So pick a town as you've got. Give me some numbers, because I love that. By the way, that strategy is what helped me really when I dialed in on that strategy in my town here. That's what worked really well here before the rules.
I mean, if I give you kind of a rough idea, I mean, we don't really look at anything if it's priced more than about 440, 450, and our average price point of a house in the general area is around 440, 450. So we're looking below that price point. And then we negotiate and we look for all the types of houses that, quite frankly, everybody doesn't really want to touch, and for lots of different reasons. And so sometimes we have to wait, right? I mean, we've negotiated like 4 months on a house before now, just waiting for the seller to come down. And we look at lots of houses. I mean, we go through a lot, and we don't actually pick many. So we spend a lot of time actually not buying houses, but researching and going through and seeing, does this one fit? Would this one make more sense than that one? We spend a lot of time, not wasting time, but a lot of time really just looking, which a lot of people can't really necessarily do. I mean, I think one of the advantages we have, it's kind of done for you real estate. And the rationale behind that is that, if you're an investment banker or you're a doctor or a dentist or whatever it is, you should be doing that, because that's what your skill set is and what you do. So you go do that and let us do what we do, and we'll bring you the result.
Yeah, nice. And if what would be a typical? So someone will come in, they qualify for the mortgage, come in with a down payment and repair costs, and then you split profits 50-50.
Correct.
Yep.
And then what would be a normal annualized return rate for them over, say, a 5-year period?
So the total ROI that we're looking at for the project, I tell my investors, I don't get out of bed in the morning for anything less than 30%. It's just not worth it for me.
But their return or yours?
Total.
Okay. Annualized return, yeah.
So, and I mean, the last couple of projects that we've done have been well in excess of that. Total ROI on the most recent acquisition, I think the projection is 46%. The one prior to that was 44. And then the third one ago, it was really, really high. I can't remember. You calculated the total.
It was like over 50% or something.
But these are annualized returns, right? I just want to clarify that. So I think, and some people, if they've not been around real estate, that's going to sound crazy, right? And I think, but the math on it is really simple. And I think sitting down, someone came and sat down with you guys, and then what are your areas of expertise? Like what geographical locations?
Yeah, so we focus Simcoe County. We're primarily focusing right now on the areas of Barrie, Collingwood. We've been looking a bit in Aurelia. There's a new casino that's about to be built in Wasaga Beach, so just kind of in between. So anything in between Barrie and Collingwood as well.
And these are outside of Toronto, because remember, there's people all over everywhere here. So I'm just trying to, just so that people think, oh, I want to invest in an area. They're like, where the hell is that?
So if you want very general terms, we're north of the GTA.
So you're north of Toronto and in those smaller areas. That's great. No, I love the name of the town so people can look this up, but just so other people, I just want a bigger clarification, because people from outside, they're bringing money to Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary. So, knowing that there's people in this area that they could be watching this and then they think, oh yeah, Toronto area. Yep, that's where I want to put my money.
An hour to 2 hours from Toronto, there are GO trains that come into these areas that will take you right into downtown Toronto.
Yep.
So they're more commuter towns.
Excellent. So commuter towns. And then before we get into, I want to end with how people are connecting with you and stuff, but I'm just looking at our time. Okay, great. We've got 5 minutes for the quick fire round. So I got a question side. So I knew there'll be a bit of competition. I shouldn't say I know. I assumed there'll be a bit of competition between you two on a fun way. So normally
we're not competitive at all.
So normally I just ask these questions, but for this round here, I can see the look of Beyonce. She's like,
I've got to walk.
He's like this. He's like, whatever. I'll do it. Kelly's like,
I'm ready.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'll ask the question. The first one to buzz gets to answer, and the other person doesn't get to answer, so you miss your opportunity.
The first one to which?
The first one to buzz. Make your buzzer.
Oh, there's two Brits on this call. We got to kind of like, get this one right.
Okay, so best real estate book.
Oh God, best real estate book.
Okay, Kelly.
Okay, joint venture, I would say. For me.
Okay, and who wrote that? Do you know?
Don Campbell.
Don Campbell.
Yeah.
Oh, Don Campbell. Okay, so Don R. Campbell, the legendary Don R. Campbell.
Yeah.
A joint venture.
Even pausing on that. I mean, there's
because there's so
20
many. There's so many. But that was a very valuable book.
Okay, awesome. And I think, to stab at that, I tell people, once you get to a point, the money's not really an issue. Finding, as you've just mentioned before, finding the deals becomes the hardest part. Like the actual what's going to work. Because once you can joint venture, it's infinite. And you become good at that and you hone that in. The money is endless. Like you're changing the level of partners that you play with as you step up the game. Okay.
So do I get a point? Am I winning?
Yeah, hold on. I've got to keep track of this. Hold on. Yeah. I'm going to send the winner a prize. I'm going to step this game up. So whoever wins this round is getting a prize. Kelly, you want to? Don't mess around with your buzzers. Yeah. Sure. Her hair's back. Sleeves come up there. She's not right. Okay. The best strategy for a beginner. She pointed you into the face. Okay. Best strategy for a beginner.
The face that was.
Personal development.
Oh.
Never mind real estate. Personal development. You have to put more into yourself than you put into your real estate.
Awesome. I love that answer. Great answer. Okay, question number 3. Who is the smartest person in real estate?
Me.
I thought you were going to say out of the two of us. So
I think Ian buzzed there. I think that was an Ian's beat buzzer. Ian?
Don Campbell.
Don R. Campbell. Okay. So even if Don R. Campbell, if people aren't from Canada and haven't heard of this guy, he is, I think he's got like 7 or 8 books out.
Oh, at least.
They're like, but they're such easy reads. If you haven't read them, doesn't matter where you are in North America, anything, the principles are the same for real estate. And it just makes so much sense. You can follow them. It's about doing the basics right. And that's how people, it's like, and you can attest this, sport isn't about doing the amazing things amazingly. It's about doing the simple things as best as you can consistently. And that's what he teaches in real estate. Do the simple things over and over consistently and you're going to get success, just like you would in sport. Okay, so Don R. Campbell, smartest person in real estate. 2-1. Okay. Okay. Number 4, with only $100,000 to invest, what's the best way to make it grow? Ian, what's your answer? To tie it up, what is your answer?
My answer is give it to us and we'll turn it into a second suite for you and we'll make it grow.
So $100,000 I can come and invest for you guys as long as I can qualify for a mortgage?
Yep, you probably could. Depending on the property, we probably could get us in there.
Okay, perfect. $100,000.
You didn't even finish the question.
Okay, so just so you know, there's only 2 questions left.
What happens if we tie?
Well, I'll think of a tiebreaker. Okay, number 5. Favorite place to invest in the world, not your own.
You're going to say the UK.
I am going to say the UK, absolutely.
Why?
Why? Because the UK, regardless of what's happening in Brexit, is still going to be, it's the center of the financial universe in the world. And the amount of money that comes into London, even if there's a recession in the UK, you'll find that London might dip maybe 1% or 2%, but it typically doesn't go down. And it's still going to be a huge financial center for years and years and years.
There's so much generational wealth there. People are just owning the properties and passing it through families. It's like Hong Kong and New York. They don't.
It's incredibly expensive, but it's not stupid expensive. So I still think that there's huge amounts of opportunity in London. And the houses are, some of them 100, 200 years old, which still gives you that opportunity to actually do a conversion or to do a reno or whatever it is, even knock them down and build something else. So there's loads of opportunity there.
Oh, excellent. Okay, who is smarter, Kelly or Ian? Kelly! What's your answer?
I purposely did not buzz them because musically, it's the smarter thing to not buzz. You ask that. lady in the room.
So I think he just answered it.
Are you going to say it, Ian?
No, my honest answer is that we both bring different skill sets to the table. So not one of us is smarter than the other. We just have different strengths.
Wrong answer. No. No, okay, that's okay. I would have to get you guys' address. I'm going to send you something for taking part in that. That was awesome. I love the way you just punch him in the face to try and get your second one. Yeah. Okay, so how do people get in touch with you? If people want to invest with you and they want to invest in the Greater Toronto area in the specialization what you do, which is typically buy and hold.
Yep.
Conversions, that's your normal, so you're creating wealth over time. People can park their money with you guys in a safe investment. They use their match, so it's totally hands off.
Yeah, so I mean, the name of our company is Elevated Wealth Creations, and the reason for that is we believe that great investment properties are created, not necessarily bought. So we're in the game of creating wealth, not just buying the next investment property and waiting. I mean, yes, we're going to wait, but we're in the business of creating wealth for other people as well as ourselves.
And it's by design. It's not just by chance. It's not the lucky you are painting one night with our friends. It's actually you've got a plan. It's work. You've got a history of work. And so if anyone's looking to invest in the Greater Toronto area or in the areas that these guys invest in, how would they reach you? How would they reach out to you? What's the best way to connect?
So you go to our website, elevatedwealthcreations.com.
Okay.
Information's on there, or they could email us or give us a call.
If they want to email you, where would they email you to? What would your email address be?
Yeah, so it'd be accounts@elevatedwealthcreations.com.
Okay, and we're going to put those links in the video, so make sure people get that as well. And so I'll put your website and your links to your emails. Well, thank you very much, guys. These have been awesome fun. I've actually enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more. I think we were right on an hour there, so perfect timing. Thank you for playing the game at the end with such intensity. That was awesome.
Why did it actually hurt you?
I actually really I appreciate you sharing your stories, some of your failures, the mindset, things like that. I think it's important that people getting involved into real estate understand that it's more than just buying a house. And if you don't have the time to do it, which is what we're trying to create with real estate, there's people like yourselves that anyone can contact and work with and help them elevate their wealth and create the lives that they want to do and the experiences they want to have in their life. Because life is short, so we've got to enjoy it. And real estate should help you with your life, not be your life.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.